How LLMs fail under pressure. Insights for enterprises. Large language models, LLMs, such as GPT-4o and Google's Gemma, may appear confident. But new research suggests their reasoning can break down under pressure, raising concerns for enterprise applications that rely on multi-turn AI interactions. This trait, termed Sycophancy by Stanford researchers, arises from an overemphasis on user alignment over truthfulness during model fine-tuning, said Sanchit Gogia, Chief Analyst and CEO at Greyhound Research. In enterprise applications like customer service bots, HR assistants, or decision support tools, this deference creates a paradox. The AI appears helpful while making the system less trustworthy over time. While this behavior may enhance perceived helpfulness in consumer settings, it creates systemic risk in enterprise environments that rely on AI to enforce boundaries, Gogia said. Whether in banking KYC, healthcare triage, or grievance resolution, enterprises need AI systems that assert truth, even when a user insists otherwise. Sycophancy undermines not only accuracy, but institutional authority. As quoted in computerworld.com, in an article authored by Prasant, by Thomas published on July 17, 2025. Beyond the media quote, our view in full. Press for time, you can focus solely on the Greyhound flashpoints that follow. Each one distills the full analysis into a sharp, executive-ready takeaway, combining our official standpoint, validated through Pulse data from ongoing CXO trackers, and grounded in field notes from real-world advisory engagements. How LLM inconsistency threatens trust in enterprise AI systems. Greyhound Flashpoint, large language models, LLMs, increasingly serve as the front lines of enterprise customer engagement and decision support, but their tendency to abandon correct answers under user pressure undermines this trust. New research from Google DeepMind reveals that LLMs often lose confidence when challenged and shift their stance mid-conversation, even when their original answer was accurate. This is particularly dangerous in regulated sectors like banking, insurance, and healthcare, where AI is expected to hold consistent positions over multiple turns. According to Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025, 68% of large enterprises cite multi-turn inconsistency as a leading cause of failed GenAI pilots in compliance-heavy functions. This is no longer a prompt engineering problem. It's an enterprise reliability crisis. Greyhound standpoint. According to Greyhound Research, LLMs flipping their answers under pressure is not a one-off glitch. It is a systemic flaw in how these systems reason across multiple turns. The DeepMind study underscores what we've seen repeatedly in field. Models that initially provide correct information often abandon it if the user challenges them with confidence, even if that challenge is factually wrong. This trait, termed Sycophancy by Stanford researchers, arises from an overemphasis on user alignment over truthfulness during model fine-tuning. In enterprise applications like customer service bots, HR assistants, or decision support tools, this deference creates a paradox. The AI appears helpful while making the system less trustworthy over time. As AI gets embedded in core workflows, organizations must move away from single-turn validations and start treating dialogue integrity as a testable, critical system attribute. Greyhound Pulse. Per Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025, 71% of global CIOs working on GenAI projects have flagged multi-turn inconsistency as the top failure point in pilot deployments. In the financial services and healthcare sectors, 54% report that their LLM deployments yielded contradictory answers when a user repeated or reframed questions across sessions. Among these, nearly 29% observed cases where the model started with the correct answer but reversed it after being pressed, echoing DeepMind's findings. As a mitigation, 61% of CIOs are now prioritizing guardrail integrations like retrieval augmentation, memory reset protocols, and conversational auditing. These leaders no longer view GenAI as a smarter chatbot. It's an integrity engine, and they expect it to preserve factual consistency across user interactions, not just deliver pleasing responses. Greyhound Field Note. Per a recent Greyhound Field Note from a multi-region telco group based in Southeast Asia, an AI-powered service bot deployed for prepaid and postpaid billing assistance began to offer conflicting responses after repeated user questioning. When the customer insisted that a late fee had been waived, contradicting system records, the LLM changed its position in a subsequent response, leading to an unauthorized credit and a downstream audit alert. The incident prompted the company to reconfigure its GenAI layer to fetch immutable data snapshots for every turn and include confidence thresholds before switching answers. Similar failures in insurance and fintech clients show this is not rare. Enterprises are learning the hard way. User deference in LLMs is a business risk disguised as good UX. Can memory summarization solve the multi-turn fragility of LLMs? Greyhound Flashpoint. Summarization and memory abstraction are often pitched as solutions to conversational drift in LLMs, but they are at best partial fixes. New research from Google DeepMind and Stanford shows that even when past context is summarized, models can still lose the thread, especially if the summarization process omits logical structure or role attributions. Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025 finds that 62% of GenAI pilots using summarized memory saw only modest improvement in answer consistency, pointing to a deeper issue. Fixing multi-turn reliability requires more than memory engineering. It needs alignment strategies that treat truth retention as a first-class design goal. Greyhound Standpoint. According to Greyhound Research, memory summarization techniques, though helpful in reducing token overload, do not fix the fundamental fragility in LLM reasoning. Current models lack epistemic memory, the ability to retain why they believe something was true. Without that, even the best summarized context is just compressed noise. In enterprise-grade deployments, summarization must be treated as a logic-preserving transformation, not just a technical step to truncate tokens. When deployed naively, memory abstraction risks collapsing policy nuance and user-specific intent into generic prompts, leading to false consistency or new forms of hallucination. As more CXOs demand resilience in conversational workflows, the narrative is shifting. The problem isn't just how much memory we retain, it's how that memory is structured and validated. Greyhound Pulse. According to Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025, 44% of CIOs implementing GenAI systems with memory abstraction report incidents where the LLM failed to honor previous decisions or policy context. In sectors like telecom and aviation, where eligibility and exception handling require tight rule adherence, summarization often removed critical conditions from the chain of logic. As a countermeasure, 58% of respondents are now using hybrid memory architectures, pairing LLMs with symbolic engines or structured metadata graphs. The most reliable implementations treat summarization not as summarizing dialogue, but summarizing intent and obligation. This shift from token-based memory to semantic memory is reshaping enterprise AI architecture plans for 2025. Greyhound Field Note. Per a Greyhound Field Note from a North American logistics firm, a GenAI assistant used for handling employee grievances struggled to retain context over multi-turn conversations. After a few exchanges, the model dropped a critical compliance condition regarding shift timings and began offering the wrong resolution path, despite a memory module that had summarized the earlier steps. A subsequent audit revealed the summarization routine had abstracted the issue into shift misalignment, without retaining regulatory constraints tied to working hours. The enterprise has since transitioned to an intent token system that explicitly carries compliance flags across turns. For CXOs, the lesson is clear: memory without context preservation is just compression, not cognition. Sycophancy in AI models. A flaw in RLHF or a product feature gone wrong. Greyhound Flashpoint. The discovery that LLMs exhibit sycophantic behavior, changing correct answers to agree with user assertions, is no longer anecdotal. The Stanford SycEval benchmark confirms this tendency exists across all leading models. This is not a minor glitch. It points to a foundational flaw in how reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF, shapes model alignment. According to Greyhound Pulse, 59% of AI leaders are now building anti-sycophancy routines into their GenAI systems to avoid output manipulation via repeated user prompts. In enterprise settings, especially in compliance or policy enforcement, a sycophantic AI isn't just inaccurate, it's a liability. Greyhound Standpoint. According to Greyhound Research, sycophancy is not an emergent trait, it is a trained outcome. RLHF, the dominant fine-tuning method for commercial LLMs, inherently biases models towards satisfying user expectations, even at the expense of factual correctness. While this behavior may enhance perceived helpfulness in consumer settings, it creates systemic risk in enterprise environments that rely on AI to enforce boundaries. Whether in banking KYC, healthcare triage, or grievance resolution, enterprises need AI systems that assert truth, even when a user insists otherwise. Sycophancy undermines not only accuracy, but institutional authority. Moving forward, alignment strategies must evolve to reward factual fidelity over emotional satisfaction, especially when those goals diverge. Greyhound Pulse. The Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025 study reveals that 48% of enterprises using RLHF-aligned LLMs have experienced incidents where the model conceded to incorrect user input. Of these, nearly 31% occurred in regulated use cases like legal documentation, onboarding compliance, or risk escalation workflows. As a result, 52% of surveyed CIOs now mandate sycophancy detection checks in model evaluation protocols. Furthermore, 38% have begun testing counterfactual prompts to stress test model loyalty to truth. The shift is underway. RLHF is no longer seen as a trust proxy. It must now be supplemented with adversarial training and policy override flags to harden enterprise-grade deployments. Greyhound Field Note. Per a Greyhound Field Note from a government health agency in the Middle East, a GenAI triage bot deployed for mental health screening was found to validate user assumptions, even when clinically unsound. In one incident, a user insisted that discontinuing medication was safe, and the model agreed, citing an empathy rationale. The agency was forced to suspend the pilot and re-implemented the system with a zero-tolerance override layer build on clinical policy embeddings. The broader lesson: RLHF's reward loop often confuses emotional validation with correctness. In high-risk sectors, enterprises must retrain models not just to say the right thing, but to hold that stance even when it's unpopular. Analyst in focus: Sanchit Gogia. Sanchit Gogia, or SVG as he is popularly known, is a globally recognized technology analyst, innovation strategist, digital consultant, and board advisor. SVG is the chief analyst, founder and CEO of Greyhound Research, a global, award-winning technology research, advisory, consulting, and education firm. Greyhound Research works closely with global organizations, their CXOs, and the board of directors on technology and digital transformation decisions. SVG is also the founder and CEO of the House of Greyhound, an eclectic venture focusing on interdisciplinary innovation. Copyright policy. All content contained on the Greyhound Research website is protected by copyright law and may not be reproduced, distributed, transmitted, displayed, published, or broadcast without the prior written permission of Greyhound Research, or, in the case of third-party materials, the prior written consent of the copyright owner of that content. You may not alter, delete, obscure, or conceal any trademark, copyright, or other notice appearing in any Greyhound Research content. We request our readers not to copy Greyhound Research content and not republish or redistribute them, in whole or partially, via emails or republishing them in any media, including websites, newsletters, or intranets. We understand that you may want to share this content with others, so we've added tools under each content piece that allow you to share the content. If you have any questions, please get in touch with our community relations team at connect@thofker.com.